What are you addicted to, and what did this world do to you? What will it take to get you through, and how long has it had a hold on you?
Okay, welcome back to another edition of Addicted2. I'm still hanging with my buddy Harold here, and he was on last week, so we're going to continue that conversation, and we're going to see how he went from the doom and gloom, relapse, and rehab until making it 17 years today. So welcome back.
Thanks, Sean. Yeah, well, as I was talking on the last show there, I was in recovery. I went to recovery house, and then but that didn't get me, just going to rehab doesn't get you clean and sober, right?
No, it's a step.
It's a step. And I even relapsed when I was going, right? And I was...
Oh, because you were in a day program.
I was in a day program.
Okay.
So there you go.
Did they know?
They didn't know. No, if they had have pissed me, they would have kicked me out, right? That's right now. Zero tolerance. And, I did that, there you go off the rails for a night, and phoned in the next day saying, geez, I got the flu, I couldn't make it. And I thought for sure they were going to make me piss when I went in the next day. They didn't. So I stayed in. And what I learned in there too was, he told us, I don't know how many was in our class, in our group, 9 or something like that. And he told us, probably out of how many, he asked, how many do you think you guys are going to be in here, are going to stay clean when you're out of here? All 9 hands go up, of course, right?
Yeah.
And by the time we finished, there was 2 guys who were already gone, right?
Yeah.
I could have been gone. And so...
Which is kind of a shame, because I find that I said this to one of my counselors, and she said, nobody's ever said that before. And I said, if you think about it, addicts pay twice. First of all, we pay the price of whatever trauma we endured that we're running away from. Because usually I've found that not only the ADHD, but there's some type of trauma. I mean, if there was alcoholism in your family, it at some points didn't go well. Let's just put it that way, right? So there was some mental stuff there. And then we continue to abuse ourselves. So not only did we find something in our life that we couldn't cope with, so we figure the fix is to keep trying to kill ourselves. So we do pay twice.
Well, we pay heavily too. But getting back to what I was saying there. So anyways, by the time it was over, we're at graduation. A year later, I go out. I'm out a few times. I don't, I go to meetings and stuff, but I slip here and there. But I had a good foundation with some really good people helping me, right? And they got me, they greeted me back in, and they were happy, and they helped me. But anyways, the last time I'll tell you my last go at it, right? And this was, you can call it whatever it was, but for me, it was my pathway to staying clean and sober. I was out using, at some flea bag shithole motel, right?
Yeah.
Glamorous night, and
disheveled and
oh yeah, and messed up. Here I am, can't sleep, middle of the night. Well, why the fuck can't I get this? I am in tears, I'm crying. I didn't know. I'd had enough, but I didn't know what to do. And I'm looking up at the ceiling, and you talked about the higher power, right? And of going through recovery and doing meetings. I realized, that's what I got to do. I got to ask for help, right? I can't do this on my own. I can't do it on my own. And you know what? It was just like a light lit up the room. It was like, that's all I have to do,
Surrender.
Surrender. It was like the weight of the world off my shoulders, seriously, and people, they call it a burning bush or
a crossroads,
spiritual awakening or whatever. It was definitely a crossroads. It got me. I haven't used or drank since then, right? And that's what got me. And that was, I guess it would be your bottom of bottoms, right? But what it was the surrender of getting out of the way, because I tried everything. I knew, in step one that I was alcoholic, I was a drug addict, and my life was unmanageable, right? I knew that. That was a given.
Yeah.
I'd proved it. I was, right?
We all know that. We're losing control.
Step 2, step 3, no, I'm not ready to do that. I am not ready to go into that, right? Because I got to control things myself. That self-centeredness.
Yeah.
As soon as I realized, and that was from being beaten down enough and hurting enough, that was a journey. And from then on, I haven't looked back, right? I really haven't. I mean, it hasn't been easy, right?
No,
it's not easy. Sometimes I forget it is. I look at people, coming in now, and I think, well, fucking do it. Well, but it's not that easy, and I forget it, right?
Yeah, we do, because after a while, like we were talking a little bit about the show. I mean, you have your own business. I have my own business. I got the podcast. I got a dog. I've still got I'm in my kids' lives. You've got grandchildren. It's not the driving force it used to be, but, and I will caution with a but and say that, like we were talking earlier, that given any sort of a chance, because our emotions change. It's a sunny day, yahoo, we're out there. Well, it's a rainy day and you're not feeling, and all it takes is that little window, and it could grab a hold of you.
Oh, you got to be on your toes. We have to be. But I'm not a big. I'm part of a 12-step program still, right?
Yeah.
And I stay connected with people, right? But I'm not a. You
don't go to church on Sunday.
No, I've never been that way. And that was one of the things with joining a program, or not joining, but of mine was AA, was the God thing, right? Scared the shit out of me. I'm thinking, I'm not doing this, and that's one of the reasons I couldn't get over that higher power turning things over, right? I had to run things, and I wasn't going to go on the God thing. But for me now, like, I still surround myself with a lot of people that are clean and sober, right? I mean, when I was out there, that's who I surrounded myself was other...
With that.
Yeah, that was what it was, right? So my life didn't look as chaotic as it does now when I look back now, because everyone else was the same, right? Everyone else was getting arrested and in jail and stuff like that, and it was, oh well.
What did you find that really helped you? Just trying to give some of the listeners a little bit of background. So once you decided that you were going to surrender, and that was it.
Yeah. What?
So what do you think was your secret sauce to that? Like, I mean, you had the support of your wife, where she said, "Hey, you're like, either you're doing it or we're done." So that's a driving force.
Yeah, that was a driving force, but
it comes from inside.
It definitely was a driving force, and a big part. My kids, my youngest son, at that time was probably 15, right? We didn't talk. He hated me. Seriously. There's no doubt about that. There was nothing, right?
Yeah.
And
like, he thought you were an idiot.
Well, yeah.
Because I remember you telling me that. He thinks I'm an idiot.
Oh, yeah. And, well, I mean, he saw all that, right? He saw me going through my lowest points of addiction and not being around and not coming home and all that stuff and flipping out. So, a very bad father, right? I was to him. So, and I remember, and like I said, I came through I grew up with a, dysfunctional drinking family, right?
Yeah.
They weren't in AA and stuff like that, but there was, it was always a drunkathon for every family get together, and then, it'd all be fun to begin with, then the fights would start, and,
yeah,
as you said, it starts out good, never ends good, right?
No, never.
So anyways, and I'm thinking, and I'd heard it, and I thought, and I've got 2 sons. So a big thing was, the chain, there's that chain, you got to break the chain or learned habits keep on, right? I'm doing the same thing as, my grandfather did, my father did. And
I think we create more trauma.
Nothing's changing. Like nothing changes if nothing changes, right? And I didn't want I wanted my sons to see something differently, right? That they didn't have to do the same as me, go as far as I did, right? If they need help, they're going to see that, there is help and there is, So that was a big thing for me, was to stay clean and sober for them too, to show that it can be done. It was very motivating, right? It really was. I did things a lot. Biggest thing, right, Sean, was getting out of myself, right? I had that.
It's not all about us.
It's not all about us. There's different things. And for me, it was a long time all for myself. So I couldn't get out of that. And once I got out of that and I wasn't so self-centered, I started to see the world in a different light, that there was so much more out there. And for my family, and then other things, right? Just, like you say, starting a business, being accountable for a lot of things. My father died 7 years ago now. And, if I was drinking or drugging, I wouldn't have been there for my mother, right?
Exactly.
To help her out. I went back to the island and stayed out there, helped her organize things and that. And I wouldn't have been like that. I would have been hiding, I would have been, oh, poor me, my father died and this gives me a lot of reasons to be doing what I'm doing, right? Yeah. Someone else's fault, making an excuse. There's no more excuses, right? We got to, I finally grew up, I think, you know what I mean? Finally grew up, right?
It's funny you say that. Plus, the other thing that hits me in sobriety is the fact that, like, you started a business. I started a business 2 months after. Like, you're not supposed to make
right.
big decisions. But I did. I was very unhappy where I was. I won't even say the name of the company. So I don't need to get. But it was a large international company, but it just wasn't happy. And I wouldn't say that was the reason. I was an addict way before, but it was a contributing factor. But after I sobered up and decided that I was gonna, here I am, 12 years later, still standing. I've got a partner now, and things are going well. But I think, one message we could give to maybe somebody that's struggling is, there's not only hope, but you can change the things that you can't accept. But you've got to have courage. It's a statement, it's not a question. You have to be able to cut the people out of your life that are not good influences. No matter how close you think they are, they're addicts. They'll stab you in the back for $5 or, you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to find really good, solid friends, no matter how solid they are. And there are some good, solid people. But when they're supposed to be there doing a job for you on Friday at 5, you're phoning them and he's not answering the phone. Yeah. And that's because we're gone. And I wouldn't blame you one bit, because I did it too. Oh man, I remember when I was young, I had a girlfriend. Oh yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there Friday, right? And I'd show up Monday morning, and I used to think it was funny. I was 18, and I didn't think there was much expected of me anyways. And I'd say, I'd just kind of laugh it off. But she was pissed. And when I look back on it now, how disrespectful. But there was no cell phones or whatever. One time my buddy told me, I'll pick you up. And I said, okay, I got to go. And he said, we're going out of town. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. But there was no choice. I wasn't going to jump out of the truck at 70 miles an hour. He said, well, you're on the highway. Anyways, stuff happens, but.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was, that I know for myself, a lot of my things was that FOMO, fear of missing out. Oh no, there's going to be fun. I better go out there tonight,
Yeah.
And there was that, to me, like they talk about that when we do steps and that, we find out what our instincts are and what makes us tick, right? And I find out, like, now for instincts, to me, this is how I put it. Like, there's, that guy on your shoulder, and each shoulder, the good guy and the bad guy, yeah. Right? So the instincts are the bad guy. That's me running things. I'm going to do what I want. Whoa, here, I'm doing that. And intuition, right? Knowing, I have that feeling inside, I shouldn't be doing this, right? but I would do it, because my instinct would be that taking over. I'm going to miss out on something, right? So I would, and I knew better. So often I knew better, right? And then that would be my, oh, poor me later, like, fuck, I knew not to do that. But something drove me, something dragged me along, right?
It's not only that. I've tried to think about, was there any happiness? And there was some along the way in the beginning. But near the end, you know what I was really chasing? I would not have been happy with how high I could get, whatever, cocaine or alcohol, unless I was one hair just below ODing. That's what I'm chasing. Like that ultimate numbness, which is so insane because one, it's fleeting and you'll never get there. And if you did get there, you'll overshoot and die. But in her mind, like you're just, there's something driving you to take one more.
Yeah.
Because again, that lower energy to me is trying to kill yourself. I don't know. It is that driving force, it's that, the disease, whatever you want to call it. But that's what we're chasing. But you can never, there's a divide there and you'll never find it.
Yeah.
But it's just that part that it's driving you and to the point where we don't have a choice. There is no choice.
No, we had no choice, and we had no, at one time, and you mentioned it, it was fun, right? There would be a lot of fun times, right? And there was some fun times, but as
that turns.
When I crossed that line, right? Whenever I crossed that line, it was not there anymore. It would start out, if a night started out good, it never ended good,
Yeah.
And, I heard a guy talking about one night when I was in early recovery too, where I was at a meeting and the guy's talking about not every time I drank did I get in trouble, like arrested or whatever.
No.
But every time I got in trouble, I was drinking, right? Yeah. And that really resonated with me because that's true, right? Not every time I drank, I was in trouble, but every time I got in trouble, I was drinking, right? I wasn't getting in trouble sober,
Well, that brings up a point. I know the guy I went out to Vancouver with is dead now. Good friend of mine that I went to college with. And he ended up in the Kingston pen. God rest his soul. He went on a big meth trip and he thought that his girlfriend's son was her new boyfriend, and he just went off. But he told me, he said, do you know what the only difference between you and me is, Sean? And I said, no. And he said, most of the guys in here had a really bad 10 or 15 minutes. And they wake up, and usually under the influence, they wake up in jail, and the guy says, do you remember what you did last night? Most of no. And then the guy hands you a paper and says, here's your list of charges. You're going to see the judge to explain. And he said, he talked to the most hardcore people, and do they wish they could have taken that 10 or 15 minutes
Well,
back,
of course, right? Yeah.
Because they're not really, you think they're notorious people, and there's some people that, don't need to get into it, like heavy duty serial people. But there are some guys in there that everything just took over.
There's lots, and then
they got 10 minutes that they couldn't take.
Yeah, and then it's in our system, and it's good or bad. I think bad our system, but anyways, because it doesn't rehabilitate people, right? They just get more learned behaviors in there, and it's a revolving door, right? And it's a very tough thing for them to change too. It's almost like an addiction for guys that are in the penitentiaries and that.
Well, it's a matter of survival.
And they're used to that, and there's no way out. It's a lot of I won't get into it because I know some people won't agree with it, so we won't go into that. But what we were starting to talk about is what it's like now for me.
Yeah.
Mostly that freedom, I'm myself. And that's another thing. We hide from ourselves, I think, a lot, right? That we don't want people to see who we really are. We put me anyways, that facade up of,
Oh, yeah,
this is who I am, right?
We don't want anybody
I'm not
to
weak.
see-
I'm not fearful.
Exactly.
And I was. So now, I don't, I've learned in here is who cares what people think about you, right? It's out of your control. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We are what we are. And so that's for me, it's, I've grown up now and I don't care what people think. Of course I do, but it's not, I have to be the perfect person for them. I do my thing and I'll do what I want to do. Like you say, starting a business and with my son that hated me, right? Now he's in business with me and you see every day and grandkids, that's at my age now, like at 66, there was nothing better for me and my wife for the grandkids. They come over, they got quads, they got motorbikes, they're running around around the yard and they got, we see them all the time. It's amazing. And if I had been out there, I wouldn't have seen it, right? Just wouldn't have been around.
But also, you don't have the embarrassment.
Oh.
Like now you've got self-confidence because you know that the last time you saw him, you weren't out of line. You weren't disheveled. You weren't a bloody mess or a rat.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing to be proud of in there.
No,
But I'm not saying like we've all been there. But I'm just saying that,
Yeah. I mean, now we're better people. I'm a better person than I was and trying to get better every day. That's another big thing. I'm trying to get better every day. I love it to get up I'm not hungover and stuff in the morning.
No, I know
right?
exactly.
Oh. And
How do you start your day?
how do I start my
How do
day?
you start your day? That's usually part of the secret sauce that I've always heard from the old timers.
Do you know how I start my day? And I'm not a big reader or prayer person and stuff like that, but I get up in the morning. I got a dog. I got 2 cats there now, right? That 2 dogs. I get up and I have my time. I'm an early riser, right?
Yeah.
So I get up and I'll have a coffee and I'll just relax. No TV on, and I just relax, and I just think about things, and
But you're not rushing around late.
No, none of that. I got a structure now. That's a big thing. There's another one you could talk about. I had to, and you know that because you remember, I had to quit what I was doing, right? Because I had too much autonomy. I could do whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, right?
Yeah.
Just like you talked about, you could hide here or there. I just wouldn't show up. I'd go at noon once I could get a hold of my dealer and be gone. I had to quit and go work at punching the clock, right? At 49 years old, something I'd never done in my life. I never punched a clock in my life. I had to do that because I need that structure in my life. Get up in the morning, drive to work,
And have
punch
a
a
reason
clock.
to get up.
Have a reason.
Go.
I had to punch in. I couldn't leave, And I did that for 2 years, right? And I think that was a real catalyst of keeping me clean and sober. I needed it. I was taught that from one of the good guys I'd met in there that was really helped me in my sobriety, right? I needed structure. I had to start over.
Was that when you were working at the wholesale?
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, because I remember that. Do you think, I didn't realize that's the reason why you were doing it, but since we're talking about it, do you think that kind of took some stress off you from being on the tools too?
It did. It took, I was almost, reverting back to, they say you grow up, but mentally you're still a youngster or whatever, whenever you started drinking and using, right?
Yeah.
It brought me back to, I was like, working in a place where I should have been at 18 years old type of thing. And it brought me back and it grounded me. It really grounded me of, you know what? I could slow down.
Exactly.
And, right?
Not all as much pressure.
Not as much pressure. I could slow down and just do these things. Luckily, we were in the financial situation. I could do that, right? Because I took a big pay cut to do that. But it was okay. The sobriety part of it was more important than the monetary part of it, right?
And then you could, when you left at 4, was no longer your problem. Because when you're a tradesman, I know you can relate to this. When you're given a job, you're expected to be the project coordinator. You get the material. You execute. You're responsible for that completion. And if it goes sideways, then you're pulled into the office. Why this? And you're like, I didn't quote it. Well, but you're the guy in the job. Like, everything gets pinned on you.
Still your fault.
Still your fault. For sure.
Yeah.
So I could see when you're in the wholesaler, you left at 4 o'clock.
Yeah. It
Tomorrow, whatever. Like, I mean, if you don't have the parts, you just shrug your shoulders to buddy. Sorry, we don't have that. You
punch the clock and get out of there, right?
So I can see that being really worthwhile.
It was a huge part, and I've told a lot of people that, and not everybody, like you say, can do that. But it's those baby steps, and that's what started, and the foundation at home, right? Having my wife supporting me big time, because I was hitting meetings a lot when I first sober, right? I did a lot of meetings. And, just all those things. And like I say, the biggest part, my sons were very proud of me, right? I remember they went to my graduation at Fresh Start, and the look in their faces, the awe, like they were quite, proud of me to do that. And they still are. So, life is good, right? And I just always think when I say life is good to me so far, the Joe Walsh, I always think of him, and he's a good guy, right? And it is. Life is good right now. Like, you know what? I can't think of it being any better. I really can't. I went through a rough stretch, the first 49 years of my life, I paid dearly for it, right? Because, it was hard. But since then, the last 17 years, it's incredible.
Here's something. When you said you can't think of it being any better, here's a trick, and you don't even remember this. But I remember, I'm pretty sure it was close to 5 years or at the 5 years. And you said to me, how good you think it is now. It'll even get better. I never forgot that. And truth be told, I mean, it probably took me, I know it took me 10 years to find serenity. I don't know if I would say I was probably quite a bit of a dry drunk, for sure. I mean, I still had that anger. I had a lot of stuff that I hadn't dealt with.
Yeah.
And I certainly would never speak ill of any 12-step program. But the mistake I made was I thought it would fix all of my problems, and it doesn't. It's a great step, and I would never, like I say, speak. I'm still in now and still using it. But I still needed deeper. I needed more of the counseling, and I needed a lot of it. And it was only after like the last couple of years that I finally really was able to let go of those hurts, which I don't really get into because, again, my childhood, some of the stuff stems, I won't get into it only because it affects my brother and sister, and I'm not really going to tell their stories.
Yeah.
But there were some things that took place. And I was very angry because I was the oldest and I felt that I let them down not being able to protect them. But after counseling, I was a kid. I didn't have any control over the certain situations. And I mean, that's why I could see all the resentment, because we don't stop and think. Like, I'm sure if you could go back to being 7 years old, if you think about some of the things when your dad, if he was an alcoholic and became loud or whatnot. I mean, you're 66, but I'm sure if you think of it, it could still strike the fear right through you like you're 5 years old, because that's what we grew up with. And that's where that fear is.
Oh.
So now we go out into the world and think, you're not doing that to me. You're not. And then you take away the drink, but the attitude's still there.
You know that you're talking about that, like, I don't know if my parents are alcoholics. They were heavy drinkers, right? Because It's acceptable, but do you know that? And you talk about that, and as a kid, I remember that so many times. I'd wake up in bed and I'd hear them fighting, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you know, in my heart, but I would just hate that,
And
right?
things slamming, right?
You know,
Maybe
and I would
glass
just
breaking.
bury my head in the pillow and try not to. And that was a lot of those things but yet I became the same thing, right? When I drank. But we're talking about, if we talk about quickly here about, you know, when we talked about there's a lot more to it, you know, how much there is out there. I remember, I think I was 8 years sober, and I was talking to my sponsor because I was I think I was becoming complacent, right? Like, how much better can this get, right?
Yeah.
Like, have I plateaued?
You thought you.
This is it, you know, because life is good, but, you know, now I'm kind of just cruising, right?
Yeah.
So I talked to my sponsor, and I said, you know, like, how much more is there? Like, how much you get out of it, right?
Yeah.
And he laughed at me, and he says, however much you want to get out of it, right? And I was like, really? He goes, believe me, the more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it, right? And it continues. And that got me off that complacency and off that plateau, because it has, right? And now, because, you know,
But now you built a shop that you can't even do the woodworking in because you're so busy, you told me. But I mean, at least you got the shop. It's there.
You know, and that's it. And it's full of stuff. And, you know, yeah, I got all sorts of tools in there. I just talked about it. I'm going to build all new cabinetry on the one side so I can get it more organized and then get at it, right? But right now, yeah, we're too busy. And that's, you know what, Sean, believe this. Remember this too? That's because me starting my own business. Because do you remember this? I don't know if you do. I got laid off, and I was fine with that. It was okay. I was talking to you, and you're saying, you should start your own business. I got all sorts of work. Right?
Yeah.
And I did, right? And it was only just to...
Was that what spurred you on?
Yes.
Really?
Because I was just going to get, like, that job. The last job I did out there was that First Street Medical. And after that, they had the arena down here south, so I was going to look after that project. Then I was going to retire, right? So I thought, well, I can handle that, and, you know, I'll start my own and just do here as long as I can make wages here for the next couple of years, right? And that was, you know, 10 years ago now. And busy, right? And it's good. And
well, I mean, I've got a roommate, Pete, and he can testify to this. I mean, you know, I go to my step stuff, but I used to go on Saturdays, but it takes up too much time. But like, I mean, I'm not being complacent, but I've got projects. And so Saturday is my day to kind of get things together. And I mean, I don't have an acreage or anything. I've just got a house in the city, but there's always something to do. And like you say, like you just sparked the point when you say, how much more is there? I mean, even for COVID, I finished 2 children's books that I had written. I got them actually published. They never really went anywhere, but they're on Amazon. But the thing is, you know, I'm proud that I got them done. I got a business. I'm doing this podcast. If you would ask me even a year ago, podcast, I'd say, yeah, Joe Rogan does one.
yeah, well,
I don't know anything about it, but I don't let fear or common sense get in my way anymore.
well, I'm glad you phoned me, because last week when you said that, because I thought it was work call, you know, something about work, right? Because generally it is.
Yeah.
And you said, "Oh, I got."
phone you off for your lunch.
And then you said about this podcast, and I went, "That right? This sounds like a great idea," and I'm glad that we did it. Right? It's good,
I'm
right?
having a blast.
Yeah.
This is like, I mean, this is awesome. So I guess we're out of time for this one, but you know, I think we'll have you back because.
For sure. Yeah, there's lots. It's pretty good. I like it. I enjoyed it. It's the way it is, right?
Yeah. Well,
I
we've got
mean-
lots more to talk about, and all right, thanks a lot.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Sean.
Take her easy.